Even though freelance copywriting is one of the easiest and chillest jobs in the entire world, there's one part of the process that scares 99% of people away. And that is sales. Getting money in, getting paid. I firmly believe that money makes the world go around. And sales is the coal that the little elves are shoveling into the machine to make it all work. On this channel, I've covered how to get started, how to do outreach to get clients, but everyone freezes up when it comes to actually selling your service to someone so you can actually make money. In this video, I want to give you some real solid game that you can take with you so that you're never afraid when you're talking to a prospect on a sales call, you're gonna close them every single time. I've been saying all year that my goal is to get as many people to $15,000 a month as possible. And this video is gonna get you a whole lot closer if you're not already there yet. If you wanna get to $15,000 a month with freelance copywriting, definitely consider signing up to my free class that's happening very soon. You're gonna find a link where you can sign up for free. I will teach you how to get clients, how to actually get started with this, and how you can make a bunch of money with freelance copywriting in 2025. Also, throw a like on here, subscribe, comment your favorite part, comment what you think of my fit today. Do all of that if you're trying to get rich this year. So I'm gonna break down these sales techniques into 3 categories. We're gonna talk about info products, e-commerce, and agencies, because these are the 3 types of clients that you're going to have to come across if you're trying to get to 15K a month with copywriting. But before I teach you specifically what you're gonna do, we need to talk about principles. There's 3 that I want you to follow. Principle number 1, sales is not scary, okay? And it's a skill that you can improve on. When you think of sales, you think of you versus the prospect, and they're grilling you and you're grilling them. And if they, ask you one question that's wrong, like they're gonna find out that you're an imposter and you don't know anything about copywriting. It never works that way. It's always a very chill conversation. There's nothing for you to be afraid of. Every single time I've hopped on a sales call, I've always come off feeling really good, even if I don't land the client on that call. And also, you don't have to be a naturally born good salesperson. I was definitely not. First time I ever took a sales call, I was scared shitless. Every time I took a sales call after that, I had no idea what I was doing. I had no sales skill, but now I can hop on a sales call. I've been doing this for like almost 5 years. I'm gonna land every single sales call, even though I've never taken any formal sales training. I didn't go to sales school. I don't have a degree in sales from college. I don't even think they make those. Second thing you need to remember, the second principle, is you need to think of your prospect as if they're like literally below you. This does not mean treat them like shit and be mean, because you're never gonna land any clients like that. But what you do need to focus on is remembering that they're not better than you just because they're richer than you right now. This really started to set in for me once I started to make real money with my business, like as a freelancer. Like I got to a point where I was making 40, 50K a month. And then some of the businesses that I was talking to, like, were making less money than I was. Even if it was an e-commerce brand doing $1 million a year, the founder might be making like maybe 5, 6 grand a month. And so when I would hop on a call with them, I would understand inherently, like, I'm actually a better entrepreneur than them. They don't actually make very much money at all. Like, I'm richer than you should listen to me. And that confidence that I had made me better at sales. And it's tough to sort of put yourself in this mental headspace if you're not actually there, like if you're not actually making like 7 figures a year from copywriting. It's hard to sort of visualize what that would feel like, but you have to sort of meditate and put yourself in that state, because I promise if you are the one leading the interaction, you're the one that has more confidence than the prospect, you're gonna win that sale. The third one, you gotta use the Trump method. All that means is you gotta kind of describe things the way that Trump describes things. How does Trump describe things? Everything is amazing. It's gonna be the biggest campaign that we've ever done. This is the, by far the best campaign that you're ever gonna see. I'm the best copywriter. You're gonna have the best emails ever. We're gonna make so much money, more money than anyone's ever made ever. The way Trump sells, love him or hate him, doesn't matter how you feel about Trump, but the way he sells is good. He instills confidence in other people because of how confident he is. Everything's the best, everything's the biggest, everything's the greatest. Like, he didn't say like, oh, this wall is gonna be all right. Like, hopefully, this wall is good. That's how some of you sell your copywriting services. You're like, oh yeah, we'll try our best to make money. It's like, no, you're gonna hop in there, you're gonna be an absolute dog, you're gonna kill it for everybody, you're gonna make them so much money, and you're gonna get paid in return. Use the Trump method. It's gotta be grand, it's gotta be big. Those are all the things you need to be thinking about as you go into every single sales conversation, and then all of this other stuff that I'm about to say is gonna apply even more. By the way, the reason I'm separating these different types of sales techniques into info, ecom, agency is because you're gonna sell differently depending on who you're talking to. It's not one way of selling. So let's start with info products. Let me start off by saying that info product clients are really good. I think they're the best because it feels like a partnership and they pay really well. So typically when you're working with an info product client, it's one dude or girl running the sort of whole operation. They might have one marketer on their team or maybe a couple salespeople, but there's like very rarely more than like 5 to 10 people like working in the whole organization. With other businesses that might not be true. I've worked at ecom brands where like they have hundreds of people working for them, or agencies where the headcount, you know, my main agency client from back in the day had 165 people working there. When you're working with info product clients, people selling courses or coaching or whatever, it's usually you're working directly with the founder. And these are types of gigs where you can make $4,000 to $5,000 to $6,000, $7,000 a month. So when you're selling an info product person, remember this. Info guys love money more than anybody else. They're like little cowboys running around. Like they're always looking for ways to like spin up new offers, just get more traffic, sell more of this thing. They feel very strongly about it. It's like a very high testosterone environment. And so you should always be upfront about the fact that you're trying to get them paid. And even better if your incentives are aligned, like if you have a retainer plus rev share, you can say like, hey, like I'm trying to make you money because I want to make money. You can tell them straight up and be like, you know, a lot of people say they do this because they just love marketing. I mean, I love marketing, but I love making money. So like, let's make you some money. And you want to paint the money picture for them. I say this all the time to my students. The money picture is like you literally future pacing, which is a sales term, future pacing what they're gonna make if they work with you. So if someone's selling like a $6,000 mentorship thing and they have an email list of like 20,000 and they're not using it, you gotta tell them, you gotta be like, you have an email list of 20,000 and you're thinking $6,000, like, dude, we're gonna print with this thing. And they'll usually ask you like, oh, what do you think? How much do you think we could print? You'd be like, dog, if I'm sending emails to a list of 20,000 people, we're booking 20 calls a week minimum. You close 5 of those, you're making 30 grand a week off email. It's 120 grand a month. It's like 120 grand that you're just getting for free. You don't have to run ads to it. It's just 120 grand. There you go, every single month. And again, these guys love money so much that they're like, damn, like that sounds really cool. Same thing if you're pitching anything related to Instagram, like scripts or something like that. You'd be like, imagine if you were producing like actual banger reels on Instagram and you're getting 100,000 views minimum every single time. Like, what do you think that would do? Like you're driving like 1,000, 2,000 leads a week. You're getting 20 calls booked in the calendar. Like you close, again, 5 of those, it's another 30 grand a week from Instagram. You gotta just like make them imagine all of the different ways that they're gonna get paid by you. Also too, info guys get really jealous when they hear about other info guys making more money than them. And this is a really good way to get them to do something that they actually don't want to do or they're not sold on. So one of my students right now, one of my guys that I'm going one-on-one with, 17-year-old kid, he's trying to close a VSL for this one client for $2,000. $2,000 is light work for a VSL. I won't do a VSL for less than 15, probably closer to 20 or 25. It's a lot of work and it takes time and it's worth money. This kid's trying to close this client. And this client is just being stubborn. He's like, well, I don't know if I need a VSL. And the client doesn't even understand that he needs a VSL because the student, the little 17-year-old, my guy, hasn't told him about all the other people who are making all this money and FOMOing him into actually doing it. So he's being cheap about a $2,000 VSL, which he shouldn't even be stressing over if he was actually making money. And so I basically told this kid to tell the client, like, dog, if you were making bread, if you had a VSL, you wouldn't be stressing over $2,000 for the price of a VSL because you'd be making money because you have a VSL. It's like this weird circular thing. I told this kid to send examples to this client of other people who are in his niche who are making way more money than him, like $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a month with their programs because they have a VSL. Here's what you could be doing if you had a VSL. And I know it's gonna work. I know he's gonna get FOMO'd into it because he's just seeing all these other people and he's feeling like, oh man, like I really need to do this. So you can be super blunt and to the point with these info guys because they just wanna make money and they're ready to go, man. All these guys see examples of people doing $1 million a month, $2 million a month, $5 million a month, and they're like, man, I could do this. And you just gotta get them in that headspace of feeling really competitive and then making sure that they believe that you are the one to help them get there. I'm also gonna add skills you should have if you're gonna do this. Email, scripts, like writing scripts for like short form or long form, VSLs or sales pages. So a VSL is a video sales letter and then a sales page, obviously you know what a sales page is. Maybe ads and maybe webinars. If you can do all of those things, you're gonna make bank working with info product people. Like I said, like you get paid well from these clients. Again, one of my students right now has a client paying him 10 grand a month, just one client, to do basically everything I just said. So the money is there. If you have 2 of those clients, you're making 250 grand a year off 2 clients. Obviously, if you're in my inner circle, I'm gonna help you get there faster. So if you want that, just link in the description, you'll see it in there. All right, let's talk about how you're gonna sell ecom brands. In past videos of mine, you probably heard me say something along the lines of that ecom brands are kind of hard to get, which they kind of are, but I'm feeling a shift in the other direction these days. I feel like from like summer to end of 2024, it was kind of tough to find ecom brand clients, but it seems like a lot of my students are signing way more of these now. So the luck is in your favor right now. I think you should just shoot on it. But ecom brands are the best to work with because you feel super creative when you're doing the work for them. Like it barely feels like work. If you watch my video with Hannah, she talks about how like she's gotten to work with some of the coolest brands in the world and it's super low pressure and it's really fun work to do. So the way that I've been able to sell most of my ecom brand clients is by going with like trying to make sure that you align their brand with like more direct response, like salesy stuff. So you gotta first identify like where the brand is at. Like, are they like super direct response, like a supplement brand where it's like they don't really care about their brand voice, they just wanna like sell as many products as possible? Or are they more of like a makeup brand where it's like less about selling products and they kind of just wanna feel cool in their copy? Every time I've ever successfully sold a brand, I'm always trying to sort of paint the picture of like, I'm gonna make it so that you feel like you have a perfect balance between like your brand voice, which you actually wanna sound like, you wanna sound super cool, but also like we're gonna push sales, we're gonna make you money. A lot of times for these e-com brands, like voice matters more than actual revenue. So I did a lot of e-commerce work early in my days, and 99% of the time, the feedback was not like, we need this copy to be tighter, we need this to sell harder, we need to go more aggressive direct response. It's always like, this doesn't really sound like us. So the work is actually really easy because the pressure's off to sell. You don't really have to like produce crazy results for e-commerce brands. I'll tell you a secret. Email marketing for e-commerce brands has almost nothing to do with the actual copy, way more about like just the volume of sends. They don't really care about like selling in the copy, they just wanna fucking sound cool. And when you're selling the prospect, like the actual e-com brand owner, you wanna make sure that you are prioritizing like the voice of the brand and the personality, because really that's what they care about. If an e-com brand owner really wanted to make money, they would do something else. They wouldn't have a brand. They love the brand because they just love the feeling that it gives them to own a brand. They love the personality. They wanna create something that's kind of like cool and bigger than them. That's really what they care about. A lot of times like money is like kind of gonna happen anyways. They focus way more on the voice. So a tip for you, if you're trying to get good at brand voice and you're working with a client, you gotta ask them, if your brand voice was a person, like a celebrity, like who would it be? So I used to write for this brand called Barbell Cartel. They were super cool. It was like a little sort of low-key gym brand. And they replied that they wanted to sound kind of like The Rock. And so I would just watch a bunch of content from The Rock, and then I started to be able to pick up on like stuff that he would say and how he would phrase stuff, and that would be how I write the copy. It would literally sound like The Rock wrote it. And that brand loved working with me because all I did was just deliver emails that they thought were funny and sounded like what they wanted to sound like. And so every time you're selling an e-com brand, make sure that you're just talking to the founder about how you're gonna bring their vision to life. That's what they wanna hear, okay? Skills you should have for these are email, again, ads, you wanna know how to write ads, you wanna do like landing pages, and again, every landing page kind of has the same structure, so you just kind of copy the next guy. And then product descriptions. So if you're not familiar with product descriptions, it's basically just writing the description of the actual product on the little page where it says add to cart. It's usually like 2 to 5 sentences long, and it's really quippy and kind of cool and catchy. If you can do those 4 things, chances of you signing an e-com brand client are very high. Let's talk about agencies. I have a soft spot in my heart for agencies because I worked with so many over the years. At my peak, when I was really grinding, I had 4 or 5 or something agency clients at once. It was a long time ago, I can't really remember now. And agencies are the best because they pay really well, like sometimes a full salary, like 60, 70, 80 grand a year. And they do all the hard work while you just get to click, clack away on your little keyboard like a good copywriter. And there's usually really good team culture. Like there's a lot of cool people that work at agencies. Like it's just a cool place to work. Selling to agencies is very simple, but I shouldn't even be saying selling to agencies because it's not that. You're not selling them as a client. You're literally basically getting a job. There is one rule that I want you to follow anytime you ever get an interview or a sales call with an agency, and it's just this. They just want a good little worker who's gonna be super fast, who's gonna be super dedicated, and just do all of the stuff that the agencies need them to do. It's the opposite, basically, of selling to an info product, where with an info product, you're like, oh, I'm gonna make you all this money, I'm gonna make you rich. You're not gonna make an agency rich by working with them. That's not how it works. You're trying to make their clients rich, but it's not even really about that. Most agencies that you're gonna work for, they just want you to do work super fast, super well, and just be super reliable and be basically on call all the time. So a lot of people get scared off because these agency gigs are like full-time gigs. I'm using quotes a lot, but full-time, it's not full-time. Remember when I said I had like 4 or 5 agency clients? Those were all supposed to be full-time jobs. Agencies will usually give you a bunch of stuff that you have to do for the day. It could be like 3 to 7 emails sometimes, maybe a couple of ads, maybe a couple of scripts or something, whatever, right? And in their heads, they're thinking, oh, this is gonna take this guy all day long to do it. They're not copywriters though, so they don't know that you can knock that out in like an hour and a half, maybe 3 hours max. So they're paying you 4 or 5 grand a month to do 3 hours of work a day on the high end, which is a sweet ass gig. I'll take that any day of the week. Most people make that much and they have to work like 60 hours a week. The only downside of having agency clients is you might have to make sure that you're responding to messages that they send you really fast, because if they expect you to be full-time, which you're not gonna be, it's not gonna be full-time hours, they still want you to be online technically from 9 to 5. So like worst case scenario, a client messages you when you're like at the beach, you're done work for the day technically, but it's like 4 o'clock, you're chilling, client messages you, you gotta get back to that. Or maybe you're at lunch or something like that and a client needs an email and you gotta write one real quick on your phone. I've had to do that a handful of times. That's like the worst case scenario. But again, you're getting paid 60 grand a year for like 3 hours of work a day. And if they say they want you full time, which they might say that, just be like, all right, cool, I've been looking for a home. Like, yeah, I've been doing some freelancing here and there, but like, I'm happy to drop those clients. Like, they're not a huge time commitment to me anyway. And like, I'm looking for a team to grow with. I want a bunch of people that are all focused on one thing, that wanna like make cool content, cool emails, cool ads, cool whatever for your clients, for these brands. You gotta sound like you're in it with them, for them. Like, they don't want a gunslinging info product copywriter. You gotta switch gears a little bit. You wanna sound like you're gonna be a really, really good employee, but sneakily, you're actually not. You're doing whatever you want most of the time. And again, all you're doing is writing copy. So sometimes as a copywriter for ecom brands or info products, you might have to like upload the emails yourself into like one of the ESPs that they're using, or sometimes you might have to do like some technical work or like something a little bit outside of copywriting, which is obviously easy, but it's just more stuff you have to do. With agencies, all you're doing is writing. You're just sitting there, you're a word factory, you're a word mill, you're just buzzing stuff out, and all you're doing is writing. It makes it really easy to get good reps in, and the work is super, super easy. You will also learn a ton working at agencies, and it's one of the best gigs that you can get as a copywriter. If you can snag one, highly recommend it. And there's a way for you to make 15K a month working with each of these different types of things. Like, you could have a 5K a month info product client, a 5K a month ecom brand that they're paying you, and then an agency paying you 5K a month. You're making 15 grand a month, ideally only working like 12 to 15 hours a week. Maybe a little bit more, but most of the time it's very, very chill work. This could be the dream right here, and this could literally be you in like 4 to 6 months time. If you want to learn more about how this stuff works, how to get clients, how to break into the copywriting industry, highly recommend you sign up for the free classes coming up soon. If you want to skip all that, just directly work with me and my team. The second link in the description is for the inner circle. That means we're working directly with you so you can figure out who exactly you're pitching, what you're saying to them. You get a designated one-on-one coach and access to all these copywriters to basically tell you exactly what to do. It's literally the fast track. So either thing you want, both of them are in the description. But regardless, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you learned something about sales today and how these businesses work and what they want. I want you to succeed. I want you to hit 15K a month, and I'm gonna try and get as many people to 15K a month with copywriting as possible this year. So if you wanna follow along, again, subscribe, like this video, comment, whatever. I'll see you in the next one.